Hey folks, the introduction of a video game is one of the most crucial aspects to intrigue a player to actually play the game. Much like a YouTube video, it needs to interest the player to keep going and discover more. This is of course a big part of Zelda games. In a series with 20 mainline installments, there have been quite a few opening scenes and segments to get the player going. From the nostalgic opening of Link's Nightmare in Ocarina of Time, to the iconic reveal of the post-apocalyptic world of Breath of the Wild. In today's video, I want to rank every single Zelda opening, a combination of the opening cutscene as well as the general opening segment of the game. This video could have been ranking purely just the opening cinematic or just the opening segment alone, so I thought I'd combine them both. Please keep in mind that this is strictly just my opinion, and the world is not ending because I ranked something lower or higher than you maybe would have. Or is it? Anyway, that's enough of an intro. Be sure to go and grab yourself a delicious snack and drink, folks. Send them in for a chance to be featured right here. Subscribe if you're new for more fabulous Zelda content coming your way. And let's now rank every Legend of Zelda opening. Coming in at the unfortunate opening entry, or in this entry I've decided to place Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons as joint 20th/19th place. I'll be brutally honest here. For me personally, I just don't enjoy the Oracles as much as other Zelda games, and this extends to the brief intros. Both intro screens are okay. Link is riding a horse towards a castle, and then it cuts to him seeing the 3 pieces of the Triforce, which then cuts to the game title. I didn't expect much, as these are Game Boy games, and it is cool, just nothing special for me. In Oracle of Seasons, the game opens with Link meeting Din, only for the goddess and others nearby to be whipped away by a little tornado. Evil plagues the land, and then Link wakes up. Oracle of Ages opens with Link meeting Nehru, and like the mini tornado in Seasons, this opening is interrupted by an evil being known as Varan. Nehru is captured and evil plagues the land, setting up our adventure. They aren't bad openings, I'm not here to bash them, but they just don't excite me personally anywhere near as much as any other Zelda games do. I'm also not a huge fan of the colour palette and general look of these games, but they're not bad games. Something has to take the opening slots, and in this case, it's the 2 Oracle games. Coming in at 18th place is Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. Honestly, the quality of this game doesn't reflect on the title screen. As a game, it's a bit tough, but this wee opening screen isn't too bad. It's got a cool title screen with a classic retro background, with the water and sword which looks cool, a classic text drop to set the story, and the opening of the game itself is just you being dropped right in. Very retro and cool in its own way, not a shameful 18th by any means, but it just doesn't do more for me to rank it any higher. At number 17 is The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords. A rather unique game introducing 4 Links, the original green tunic hero, but with a red, blue and purple hero alongside. It's a fairly basic opening. Link and Princess Zelda take a little trip to the sealed 4 Sword. Zelda explains that it sealed away the great evil Vati, though recently she's sensed weakness. And what would you know? Vati then breaks free and captures her. Link is knocked unconscious and Vati takes off with Princess Zelda. It's a classic kidnapped princess story setup. Link is awoken by 3 fairies and it's explained that he must take the sword and rescue Princess Zelda. The game then just starts off in a cave with some puzzles and the story is underway. It's a cool opening segment, but nothing more in my opinion. As for number 16, I have chosen A Link Between Worlds opening. The spiritual successor to A Link to the Past, which will appear later in the video of course. But for now, we're looking at this 3DS gem. It first opens with a mysterious and dark scene with the Triforce and an evil figure staring at Link. This is a nightmare, and Link shortly wakes up from it. From here, we can run around a little and get used to the controls. During this period, we make our way to the sanctuary to come across Yuga, terrorizing the priest and his daughter Sears. The evil sorcerer traps Sears in a frame, and as Link attempts to attack, she retreats into the walls, beginning many questions as to how she's done that, whilst also showing us the player what the key mechanic of this game is. It's after this that Link speaks with Ravio and the game truly gets underway. This opening is pretty cool. I love the opening nightmare visuals a lot, the brief run around, and then the chaotic attack from Yuga right at the very beginning. The game offers a lot of questions right off the bat, while still keeping some calm in between. It's pretty good, but there are a lot more to come, which is why I've ranked A Link Between Worlds at number 16. For number 15, I have selected the train track adventure, Spirit Tracks. It opens with some really cool stylized pictures, as if you're reading an old fairy tale. This gives us some backstory and where we're at now. Tales of ancient times, evil spirits, war, and peace. Whilst brief, it is fitting to this toon-like adventure on the DS, and it smartly transitions into an actual rendered cutscene, as one page is a framed picture, and this is where Link meets a familiar face, Nico, a former pirate that we first met back in The Wind Waker, 2 games prior in the Zelda timeline. Link then goes and explores a little, rides his train, which is bizarre but awesome in a Zelda game, and makes his way to the castle to meet with Princess Zelda and get his engineer's certificate. Following these events, Link and Princess Zelda, alongside Alfonso, head on out by train, only to fall off the tracks and witness something rather odd happening at the Tower of Spirits. And within moments, they are under attack. Both Link and Zelda are knocked down, and despite Alfonso's best efforts, he could not contain the surprise attack. A half-conscious Link wakes to see Zelda being taken away, and this is where the adventure truly begins. It's quite the start to a game. It's nothing super special, but it's pretty detailed and doesn't drag on too much. Like the last couple, it begs questions that intrigue you to get started and find Princess Zelda, all whilst tying in the lore of the past few games and introducing an entirely new mechanic. It's a solid opening and earns its rightful spot at number 15. Now for number 14. It's a game that not many fans like as much, but its opening deserves this place. Triforce Heroes. The different Zelda game of the bunch, released on the 3DS and really required friends to play the game to its full enjoyment. Similar to the concept of Four Swords, this game was meant to be played with 2 other players, who would control 2 other Links. However, it just didn't catch on as well as planned, but looking at it from just the story, and in the case of this video the opening, it's quite decent. It has a sort of fairy tale storybook opening, which I love, accompanied by the music, which in this game is just downright awesome. It sets the tone really well. We're told of a kingdom of fashion lovers, something a little different to the typical Zelda backstory. A witch cursed the princess with bad fashion essentially, and the king set out a quest to find a hero, which is exactly where the adventure begins for us as the player. The game literally starts with Link reading a sign with the king's quest on it. We're dropped into town and left to start exploring. It's quite simple at base value, but the combination of visuals and music really make it one of my favourites in the entire series. Coming in at number 13 is an underrated Zelda game, Phantom Hourglass. The chronological successor to The Wind Waker, this is Link's second seaside adventure and it opens in style. A reoccurring theme among these intros is storybook-like intros, and this game does it once again. A sort of handmade book storytelling tells us as a player a little bit about the adventure we're set to go on. It essentially tells the story of The Wind Waker. Tetra and her pirate crew team up with Link. They sail together through some strange events. Tetra is revealed to be Princess Zelda. The evil king takes her, and Link goes to save her. But what we learned that is new to us is that after the events of The Wind Waker, Link and the pirates didn't separate. They sailed the seas together to find new land. This is really cool lore that develops our knowledge of the adult timeline split that contains The Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass, and Spirit Tracks. Following this story, Link wakes up on the ship, sailing like normal, when the crew starts speaking of the ghost ship. A chilling phantom of a pirate ship that sails the seas in a thick fog. Tetra warns them to be on the lookout, and in spine-tingling timing, the ghost ship appears. Slow and ghostly, it sails alongside, and as Link tries to hop aboard, he fails to grip the ghost ship and falls into the ocean. We then see this trippy visual of Tetra calling out to Link, and with that, he wakes up once again, but this time on Merkay Island to begin his adventure. And this opening area is also quite enjoyable. It's not too long, but not too quick, all whilst teaching us a fair amount of story lore and information, and introducing us to Linebeck. The Phantom Hourglass's opening is great. It links Wind Waker in well and makes it clear that this is a continuation of that adventure without making it the identity of the game. The opening scene is chilling and sets us up for one heck of an adventure, and all round, I like it. Now for number 12, the first 3D Zelda game to feature on my list. Skyward Sword, the first chronological adventure in the series. The opening before the opening, as in the Nintendo Wii home screen, is pretty awesome in itself, but I'm not actually factoring that into my ranking. I just wanted to highlight it. The game opening, however, is really cool. We're first shown a bit of an origin story, and in terms of Zelda lore, this is massive. We're told of the tale of how Skyloft came to be. A monstrous demon army broke through the crust of the surface and attacked the goddess Hylia's people. In an attempt to save as many as she could, she moved them to the heavens on a small island that would come to be known as Skyloft. That demon army was led by the original Zelda villain, Demise, the creator of the curse. This is followed by yet another nightmare. Link is faced with the imprisoned, a dream of fear and what's to come, but is awoken by a noisy Loftwing delivering his mail. I've always loved how the intro went from really deep lore and a serious nightmare to this funny awakening moment. It keeps the pace of the game pretty on its feet. Following this, we explore Skyloft and learn the ways of the Wii Remote motion controls, which, whilst a little tricky at times, were pretty good in my opinion. We learn the basics of combat, how to fly a Loftwing, and by the time that's all done, Princess Zelda is victim to a nasty tornado which whisks her away down to the surface. And this is where the adventure really begins. Skyward Sword's intro is brilliant. It gives us some extremely important Zelda lore off the bat, and then continues with a classic Zelda Nightmare intro, something we've mentioned already and will mention again. Not to mention the opening area, which feels really in depth, whilst also not holding us waiting for too long. It's a near perfect balance of feeding us information for the story, as well as the general lore, and also letting us run around and get a feel for the game. Oh, and there's Groose, so bonus Groose points, of course. Coming in at number 11, the first non-3D Zelda game to place higher than a 3D game. Four Swords Adventures. Not to be confused with Four Swords. This adventure is different and unlike its familiar counterpart which placed 17th. This adventure's opening is far better. It opens with yet another really cool storytelling segment, with visuals that are one of my favourites when it comes to these intros. I just love the art style and how it's presented. It opens with a scrolling down text, which gives a really cool classic feel to the game. But it then switches to cutscenes with text over top. It shows us Link, Zelda and the maidens as they are taken by a great evil force, a mysterious purple shadow. Link then goes to the Four Swords, and we once again see the four links this sword creates. The heroes are then whisked away also, and sworn in for this adventure. The opening of the game has them dropped off by Lake Hylia, so kinda just dropped in randomly again. But it works well for the concept of this multiplayer Zelda game. I feel as though the intro is very intriguing. I want to know what exactly happened with the maidens and come face to face with evil forces. And come face to face with those evil forces. I want to save them. Four Swords Adventures is much more enticing than the non-adventures version, and a big part of that for me is the visuals, and just how grabbing this opening segment is. Just missing out on the top 10, but not far off at all. At an even number 10, I have chosen The Legend of Zelda. The very first adventure in this series, way back on the NES. It's not complicated, it's not wild and wacky. It's Zelda. It has that classic main theme, a very retro text dump giving us some context to the adventure we're about to embark on, and after listing all of the items, we are dropped in the open world adventure of Zelda. Link literally just starts here, and as the player, you can do anything you like. It's wise to enter the first cave in order to get your sword, but from there, you can go anywhere. It's a classic opening and I do really like it. It's not too much, nor too little. It's a perfect opening to kickstart not just this game, but this series. In at number 9 is The Minish Cap. The best 2D Zelda game if you ask me. It's a pixel art Zelda game in the Toon Link style. It opens with stained glass style artwork with text, telling us a bit of backstory. The story of how the Picori people saved man by blessing them with the Picori blade, wielded by the hero and the power of light. It's pretty brief and doesn't tell us much for what we'll actually be experiencing, but it is good context, especially once you start playing and learning more. But it's the actual playing segment of the opening which is really awesome. It starts with Princess Zelda coming directly to Link, which is a bit of a change to most openings. She meets him at his uncle's house, where he stays. Together, they then venture into Castletown and walk around the various stalls. It's like a cute little date. They then make their way to Hyrule Castle for the sword fighting tournament ceremony, where the winner Vati would be allowed to touch the sacred Picori blade, the same one mentioned in the intro, within the bound chest, which contains many great evils. However, what Hyrule didn't see coming is Vati himself being a great evil. As he touched the blade, he shattered the seal, and many great evils escaped into the world. And before anyone can even try and stop him, he turns Princess Zelda to stone and flees the scene. It's a truly shocking incident that came out of nowhere and puts you as the player on high alert from the get-go. You have no option but to accept what has happened and push on, in order to restore the princess and take out the evil Vati. It's quite the intro, cool backstory, really fun gameplay segment. And then, boom. It all goes down when you really don't expect something this drastic to happen at a ceremony, and that's why it takes my number 9 spot. Now for one, which I think I'll always want to rank higher as it is really cool, but for me currently, my 8th place goes to Link's Awakening. And it's honestly down to the Nintendo Switch remake. Link's Awakening was originally a Game Boy game, and then in the Game Boy Color. However, in 2019, Nintendo released a fully remodeled remake on the Switch, and whilst I don't personally gel with the game itself as much as other Zelda games, the intro for this remake is generally one of my favourites. The game opens with a cutscene, a dark stormy night out at sea, Link holding on for dear life to keep his vessel afloat, the thunder and lightning non-stop, high waves challenge the lone sailor, and it is too much. Link's ship is taken by this ferocious storm. Switching from that incredibly cool anime-esque style, the game then transitions to the art style of the game itself. A cute toy box style, and we're on the shores of the beach, watching Marin walk past what seems to be shipwreck pieces from Link's ship. And what would you know? Link. Washed up and just waking up from his disaster voyage. The camera then pans up to the windfish egg atop the island, and we then start our adventure in Mabe Village. While being a bit of a basic run around and check things out, it's a decent and solid opening area, and that doesn't take long at all to progress from. This is one of the coolest Zelda openings, and is best captured in the Switch remake. From the anime style opening scene to the new design of Link's Awakening, which perfectly captures the vibes of this game. Unrelated to the opening, this game has one of the best and most jaw-dropping stories in the series. If you haven't played and don't know the story, then I'd highly recommend trying the game out. It's such a good story. Coming in at number 7 is Ocarina of Time. One of the most nostalgic video game openings of all time. Even just the title screen and its music alone are something special, but the opening as a whole ranks pretty high for me too. It opens with a wee shot of Link, the boy without a fairy, and then we jump right into his dreams, or in this case, his nightmares. He's standing outside of the Castletown gates, watching Princess Zelda and Impa flee, only to be quickly approached by the King of Evil himself, Ganondorf. This is where the nightmare ends, but little does Link know that this is more than just a nightmare, it's his future. Following this, the wise Great Deku Tree sends Navi to find Link and be his fairy, which is where we see this really cool Navi cam scene as she flies through the Kakiri forest towards Link's house, and it's here that we take control as the player. I'd personally consider everything from here to the end of the first dungeon within the Great Deku Tree to be considered the opening of the game, as it's all essential for the rest of the game. This first dungeon teaches us the basics of combat and puzzle solving, as well as drops a hefty lore scene afterwards, telling us the story of Hyrule's creation. It's a classic Zelda opening. It's brilliant and extremely nostalgic for myself and so many fans, earning Ocarina of Time my number 7 spot. Number 6. The Wind Waker. What can I say? It's brilliant all round. It opens with a cool monologue of artwork telling a story. The story of how this timeline split came to be, when at the end of Ocarina of Time, the hero didn't show up, forcing the god's hands to flood the land in order to stop Ganondorf. The people fled to the mountaintops to survive, and those that did resided on the now islands of the Great Sea. This event is known as the Great Flood. The gameplay opens with Link being woken up by his younger sister Hyrule on his birthday. Link gets some gifts such as his green tunic, a sword and shield, as well as a telescope from his sister, which is where things begin to get weird. With that telescope, he looks out, but sees a giant bird being chased by pirates. You cannot make this up, but the bird is also carrying a girl, who is dropped into the Forbidden Woods at the peak of Outset Island, and Link naturally goes to investigate. He finds Tetra, who quickly moves past them, and as Link tries to follow, he sees his sister on the bridge, and in a moment of absolute menace, the giant bird swoops in and captures Hyrule. Link's little sister is kidnapped, and this is all because the bird, the Helmarok King, has been sent by Ganondorf to find young girls who may be Princess Zelda in hiding. This kicks off the adventure with Link teaming up with Tetra and her pirate crew to sail the Great Sea and find his little sister. It's a great setup of an opening. It acts like everything is all well and good, as if we'll ease into things, but all of a sudden, his sister is kidnapped, and that changes things. It's brilliant, and has rightfully earned my number 6 spot on the list. Mambo number 5. Breath of the Wild. One of the most unforgettable openings in Zelda history. The game opens with Link waking up. Literally, we hear a voice saying his name again and again until the hero eventually rises. He's in this odd waterbed, recovering. When he is fully awake, he's confused and doesn't know where he is. His memory is gone. He manages to collect the Sheikah Slate and open the door to the next room, where he gets some old clothes to wear, but it's what's through this next door that made this opening so iconic. Through the next door takes Link outside, but to a world he isn't familiar with. Or is he? He walks out to a post-apocalyptic kingdom of Hyrule, the same soil and rock he knows, but now destroyed and taken over by nature. Link was in the Shrine of Resurrection for 100 years, following the Great Calamity. And the opening tutorial area is the Great Plateau, now ruined in a shell of what it once was. This iconic scene alone gets Breath of the Wild my number 5 spot. It gives me chills, and just thinking about the first time I ever experienced this opening, and just how amazing it was to play Breath of the Wild for the very first time. Number 4. Majora's Mask. This opening is spine-tingling with nostalgia. Link is travelling through the woods following the ending of Ocarina of Time, where his companion Navi flew away. He's determined to find her, but is intercepted by the Skull Kid, influenced by Majora's Mask. Link is attacked, and Epona is stolen, so he chases after them deep into the woods, only to be led to this drop within a large tree, which despite his best efforts to balance himself, he falls down and enters Termina. It's a trippy sequence of events, but Link finds himself a new mysterious land, and to top that already chaotic introduction, he is then turned into a Deku Scrub and must figure out how to turn himself back into his Hylian self, entering Clocktown in a completely new world. This opening is fantastic. It's great, but a subtle continuation from Ocarina of Time. It provides questions and mysteries that you want to know the answers to all at once, but everything happens so fast, and it's confusing to truly understand what's happening and why. But that is exactly what gets you playing, and once you do start to figure things out, it all makes a little more sense and adds to the feelings of this opening segment, when you learn that Skull Kid isn't really the one behind it. These reasons are what earns Majora's Mask the number 4 spot on my list. In at number 3 is the all-time classic, A Link to the Past. The first Zelda game to really lay down the foundations of the traditional Zelda formula. It's one of the best Zelda games and still holds up incredibly well today, but its opening on the other hand is really cool in itself. The game opens with some text, giving us a wee bit of backstory and shaping things up, but it's the gameplay part that really does it for me. Link is asleep and hears a telepathic call from the castle. Princess Zelda is calling out for help. In the middle of a stormy night, Link and his uncle both awaken. But his uncle tells Link to stay home and that he'll be back in the morning. However, this isn't true. If Link leaves the house and makes his way to the castle and enters through a secret side entrance, he'll find his uncle greatly wounded on the ground. Unable to continue, he teaches Link what he can, tells him what he can, and dies. Link's uncle dies right in front of him. He attempted to enter the castle to help Princess Zelda, but couldn't make it. So Link, his nephew, must continue the attempt to save the princess, and this is where the adventure really begins. It's simple but emotional. No other Zelda game does an opening to this level of emotional depth in my opinion, especially for a game first released in 1991. This is deep and I absolutely love it. It sets us for an adventure with meaning, true meaning that as a player we can really connect with. Or if you were me as a kid, first playing this, just skipping over the text to get on with it. Absolutely cold and heartless, Adam. Anyway, A Link to the Past opening rightfully takes my number 3 spot. Coming in at number 2, just missing out on the number 1 spot, Twilight Princess. My all-time favourite Zelda game. I am obsessed with Twilight Princess, and it has been my favourite Zelda game for a number of years now, but it just doesn't quite clinch the number 1 spot, and it's a really, really close call for me. And yes, there's plenty of bias here, as it is my list. Twilight Princess opens up with a cutscene between Link and Russell, a father-like figure in his life who gives him the task of delivering a sword to Castletown. Living out in the Ordon province, this is quite the journey, but Link is ready to go. This opening is so peaceful. Link helps the farmer herd his goats. He goes fishing to feed a local cat. He plays with the children, and generally, it's a peaceful, relaxing vibe as we learn the ropes of this game. However, not long after we play a little bit and explore Ordon Village, an incident occurs. Whilst Link and Ilia are at the spring tending to Epona, a group of Bulblins led by King Bulblin invade the village, knocking the hero out in the process and kidnapping the children. Absolute chaos is brought to this peaceful village, and little farmer boy Link is suddenly whipped into action to chase them down, only to be met with a wall. A dark wall, and all of a sudden he is dragged by a massive hand through this thick wall into the twilight, which turns him into a wolf. This is almost my favourite opening and was for so long, as I've always loved the fact we spend quite a decent amount of time just going around Ordon learning the ropes and meeting everyone, for all of a sudden such a peaceful place to be invaded and children kidnapped, and to top it all off, Link turns into a wolf after being dragged into a mysterious realm. It's the perfect balance of calmly learning the game to a chaotic plot twist to intrigue you to keep playing. Some fans feel the intro is too long and drags on a bit, but for me personally, I feel the length of it only adds to how dramatic and intense it feels when everything goes down and truly starts the adventure. Like I said, this was my favourite for so long, but there is one other Zelda opening which just beats it. Now for my favourite Zelda opening, the only one I haven't covered yet. Tears of the Kingdom. The current newest installment to this series was without a doubt the most anticipated Zelda game of them all. Following the success of Breath of the Wild and the explosion of an announcement that it'd be getting a sequel, the long wait to finally play Tears of the Kingdom really added to just how good its opening was. But standing alone, the opening is just phenomenal. The game opens with Princess Zelda and Link exploring the depths of Hyrule Castle, forgotten tunnels deep below the kingdom, hiding history and alluding to a big secret. Being a sequel, this was all so exciting to see Link and Zelda back again, and this little expedition was a thrilling start. They're down here to investigate the origins of gloom, a thick fog making people fall ill, and on the way down they discover so many lost secrets such as information on the Zonai, ancient people that were extremely advanced, descended from the heavens and once ruled Hyrule, but dig a little deeper and a dark secret is found. At the bottom of this corridor, the gloom thickens, and Link and Zelda are met face to face with the returning, soon to be resurrected King of Evil, Ganondorf. He rises and nearly destroys Link and Zelda. In a moment of madness, the King of Evil directs his gloom power upwards towards the surface. Hyrule Castle rises and Sky Islands appear. This is known as the Upheaval. Back down below, Ganondorf falls, laughing into the abyss, and in the most dramatic and emotional moment I've ever seen in a Zelda opening, and honestly it's right up there in terms of the entire Zelda series. Princess Zelda falls and Link dives after her, and just as they're about to lock hands, their hands don't meet. Zelda falls to her fate, and Link is rescued by a mysterious glowing hand and yoinked high above to a safe place. This opening alone is amazing. It is the perfect way to kick off a sequel. Leading up to the release of the game, so many fans were discussing the best ways to transition between the two games, and this was honestly a bit unexpected if you ask me, but Nintendo executed it perfectly. It was a sweet balance of familiarity, then into chaos, but it didn't end just there. We then have the Great Sky Island, where Link eventually wakes up and with a new arm. This area teaches us the new mechanics of the game and introduces us to that mysterious arm that saved us, Rauru. Following this opening area, we skydive down to the surface and start our adventure. My favourite Zelda opening is so tight towards these top two places, but even my Twilight Princess mega fan bias cannot deny that the opening of Tears of the Kingdom is truly something special, and absolutely deserves the #1 spot on my ranking of every Legend of Zelda game. Thanks a ton for watching. What's your favourite Zelda opening and why? Let me know down below in the comments, as well as what you thought of my rankings. If you enjoyed this, then be sure to hit that subscribe button for more Zelda content coming your way. Oh, and drop a cheeky wee like as well. Much appreciated, friends. As always, a massive thank you goes to my amazing channel supporters who help to make videos such as this one all the more possible. The financial backing of the channel is massively appreciated, and if you'd like to be a part of that and get yourself some goodies such as access to my weekly Inside Scoop post, your name at the end of my videos, and a shout out upon joining, then check out the info on how to join down below in the description. You can also find my social pages down there if you'd like to keep up to date with me or join my Discord server. Again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day or night, and until the next time, I've been Hyrule Gamer.